Welcome back to another episode of What I Watched. This month it was October. Sorry this episode is coming out 23 days late. Yes, the day before Thanksgiving. But yeah, we were just in the middle of a cross-country move, so I had no time to really make this video. It's a really nice day out, so I thought I would shoot this video outside. Only got this annoying little fly right here next to my head. But yeah, let's go through what I watched in the month of October. October was really packed for what I ended up watching, whereas this month of November will most definitely not be very packed. I've taken a while to get through some of the things that I needed to watch, but anyways, let's get into what I watched in the month of October. And starting off the month of October, October 1st, we watched Hocus Pocus, which honestly, it's a classic. I do really enjoy this film. I have a pleasant time every time I watch it. It's not one of my favorite Halloween films, but it's a really enjoyable watch, and I do kind of end up forgetting how much fun I have with it each time I watch it. And then after that, we followed it up with Hocus Pocus 2, which I also gotta say, it was a pleasant surprise. I don't see myself watching Hocus Pocus 2 like I do watch Hocus Pocus, because I will end up watching the original for sure a couple times more in my lifetime. I don't know how many, but yeah, Hocus Pocus 2 was fun. It was a fun visit, but again, I don't personally need to see it again. After that, I got to see Smile, which everybody has been talking about that film. I thought it was an enjoyable watch, some really cool effects, and overall a fun time, but I do think the story was, fairly predictable, but there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you just need a horror movie to do what you kind of expect it to do, with, again, some cool twists, and I thought it was an enjoyable time. I don't know if I will be purchasing the film, though. After that, I revisited watching VHS from 2012. I really do enjoy this film. It is so terrifying, and specifically the first short in that film, I remember being so dang shocked by the first time that I watched it, and especially watching it now, it still holds up, and it's a really enjoyable horror film, so I definitely recommend if you haven't seen any of the films in the VHS franchise. Next up, I watched The Craft for the first time, which I gotta say was not my cup of tea. My girlfriend did thoroughly enjoy the film. It was nice seeing Neve Campbell outside of the Scream franchise, but again, it just wasn't particularly for me. Next up, I watched The Night House, which was a very pleasant surprise. This is a film that I've been meaning to watch since it came out, but yeah, this was a very dark film without being gruesome or graphic. It was really a fun watch. I know a lot of people have been complaining about horror films that are centered around somebody's trauma, but I thought it was really well handled with The Night House, and I will honestly watch anything that Rebecca Hall does from here on out. After that, I watched one of the most anticipated horror films of the year for the entire horror community, and that was Terrifier 2. Wow, this was not my cup of tea. I saw it in theaters with my dad, and yeah, the graphics are insane. The practical effects are amazing, but it's not enjoyable to me. There were, a couple funny parts that I was like, wow, this is dark and twisted, and I did find myself enjoying parts of it, but as a whole, it is just too gruesome for me, not my cup of tea. And for comparison, I'm also not a huge fan of the Saw franchise. I do enjoy that first film, but after that, I think it's too gruesome for no reason at all. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about Terrifier 2. I also don't enjoy the first film. If I did have to pick a Terrifier film to watch, though, I would pick the second one, even though it does have an extremely overrated runtime. Next up, I watched Werewolf by Night, which was also another pleasant surprise on Disney+. Lately Disney and Marvel specifically have not been doing the best of their work, in my opinion, but I honestly thought Werewolf by Night was a really fun change of pace, and because of the fact that it's black and white, you can show a little bit more. Thought it was really well done, and I'm curious to see what Michael Giacchino does next. And next up, we have a film that I was honestly expecting to like way more than I did, and as of now, it's really one of the more forgettable films that I've seen this year, and that is the new Hellraiser film. I do think, once again, kind of like Terrifier, the practical effects are amazing, and with a film like Hellraiser, there are certain reasons for seeing the grotesque figures that you're seeing, but again, I just didn't feel like it fully explored the world of Hellraiser in the way that people were expecting it. So yeah, it was a little bit of a letdown. It was an entertaining watch, but I kind of forgot the film within the first couple days after watching it. And then next up, I watched Trick or Treat from 2007 for the very first time. I had basically zero knowledge of what this film was about, except for Sam, the figure, the character. I just had seen that character all over, with friends that love the film, or, in horror shops, Halloween stores, and I just had never taken the time to watch the film, so I decided to watch it, and this was a blast. I will actually for sure watch this film every single Halloween from here on out. It is, and I don't have any specific horror films that I watch every Halloween. I don't even watch John Carpenter's Halloween on Halloween. That's just not my thing. I don't want to kind of burn that film out for me, because it's not a forgettable film, and I want to keep that way. I want to enjoy Halloween, so I don't visit that film often. But this is a film that's so unique, so twisted. It's an anthology, if you didn't know, and just, the cast is phenomenal. And again, all of the twists are fantastic. It's one of those films that I love it. I've only seen it once, and I can't wait to purchase this film, and I can't wait to watch it again next year. And another first-time watch, I watched Misery with Kathy Bates and, unfortunately, the late James Caan, who passed earlier this year. Wow, this film was fantastic. Kathy Bates was terrifying, and James Caan was really, really phenomenal. Again, this was a great film. I do see this being one of those Stephen King properties that ends up being rebooted sometime in the near future. I don't necessarily think it needs a reboot, but, it's a story that I feel like a new generation of people would appreciate seeing it in an updated look and story. Again, I don't know how well you would change that story. I haven't read the short that it was based off of, and I would like to, so that way, I could kind of see if there's a real reason to possibly reboot it in the future. But as for the original, it was a really fun time. She was fantastic, and that was the first time that I had seen her in anything when she was relatively younger, so that was a really cool thing for me to see. And yeah, I really enjoyed Misery. Next up, I finished She-Hulk Attorney at Law, and this was one of the biggest failures of the year. Again, like I said, Marvel has not been doing their thing, their proper work on their characters and their TV shows. Just a bunch of cop-outs, bad writing. It just, none of it worked. So that's all I have to say about She-Hulk. I'm not really excited for seeing where this goes, because I don't feel like they did She-Hulk justice. I also don't love the interpretation of Daredevil. It still feels like Charlie Cox's Daredevil, and I'm excited for his show, Daredevil Reborn, or Born Again. But yeah, She-Hulk sucks. After that, I watched Halloween Ends, and if you want to know my full thoughts on this, I do have a review for this film, as well as a ranking of the entire Halloween franchise. All I will say here, though, I've seen it once, and I don't ever need to see it again. Moving on. This next film I was really genuinely excited for earlier in the year, and I even did a trailer reaction for this film, and that was Blonde, starring Ana de Armas as Marilyn Monroe. I really thought there was a chance that this could have been a fantastic look into the life of Marilyn, but I just could not get over Ana de Armas' accent. I thought, she has the look, but wow, it just did not sit well with me, and I only made it through the first 20 to 30 minutes of the film, and it wasn't enjoyable. It was really bleak and just didn't feel like a real story, if that makes sense. It just felt so fabricated. Alright, and then next up I returned to the VHS franchise with VHS 2. Honestly, I gotta say, VHS 2 and VHS 3, VHS Viral is what it's called, but those two films specifically in the franchise, it's where they dip. It's not my favorite of the franchise. Again, I still think the first film in the franchise is my favorite if I had to pick a favorite in the VHS franchise. But yeah, VHS 2 is a fun time. It's got some cool bits here and there. I do like the alien invasion sequence that also is being turned into a full feature film, so I will end up watching that. But as for the film as a whole, I don't necessarily see myself watching VHS 2 for a long while. After that, I watched The Witch, which I kind of am lying about because I only made it through the first 30 minutes and I really, really enjoyed it. I think I was tired or something, or we were moving. No, we weren't moving, but I think we were getting ready to pack up and things like that. So I do have to revisit The Witch. I will most definitely finish the film. I wasn't a huge fan of The Northman, and I did enjoy The Lighthouse, so we'll see how I feel about the ending of The Witch, but I'm very curious as to how this film is going to end, and I'll probably just end up restarting the entire film because it's been so long since I watched that first chunk of the film. And then next up, we'll group these two together. We have VHS 94 and VHS 99. Right off the bat, I gotta say I like VHS 94 more than VHS 99. But the new film, VHS 99, does have some really great practical effects. And, you know, the being buried in a coffin with spiders, that was all done practically, real spiders. The actress just had to tough it out. So, you know, good for them. Like, that's just showing the passion that people have for filmmaking, and that's a really cool thing to see, especially when you can see it pulled through on camera like that and have it feel like a real true horror film. It was cool. So VHS 94 and VHS 99 are very fun watches, and I definitely recommend to any horror fan. Now this one's really goofy, but here we have Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I had never seen this film before, but I've heard so many people talk about it. This is just a dumb fun time. I was all for it. Just it's a little bit slower than I would have liked, but yeah, it was it's Abraham Lincoln with an axe fighting vampires. What more do you want? And then next up, I rewatched Barbarian, and wow, I gotta say that film was so dang fun. I liked it even more the second time around, and I will most definitely be purchasing the film. Like, even seeing the cover of the Blu-ray, I was like, wow, I need this film in my collection. It was such a fun time. Georgina Campbell, I believe is her name, who plays the actress in Barbarian. She was fantastic, as well as Bill Skarsgård, Justin Long. It's twisty, turny. If you haven't seen Barbarian, don't watch the trailer. Please rent it. Ronnie, if you're watching this specifically, I will rent this movie for you so you can watch it. It is just one of those horror films that I loved because it was about as simple as you could get in one of the most unexpected, twisty ways that you could get there. So I really enjoyed the film, and I truly do recommend Barbarian to anybody who hasn't seen it. Alright, and we got 3 more things to finish off the month of October, and these are all very lighthearted things. Moving on from Barbarian, we watched Step Brothers. If you haven't seen Step Brothers by now, what are you doing? Go watch it. It's one of Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly's best films, separately or together. I do prefer this film over Talladega Nights. It's fantastic, and I can't remember the actress's name, but who plays Will Ferrell's mother. The best line in the film is, "What the fucking fuck?" And it's so perfectly delivered. The entirety of the film is just stupid, but it works somehow. And I love Step Brothers, and I hope they don't make a sequel. And then after that, I watched Halloween Town, the original, which I gotta say, each time I watch this film, my likeness for it kind of diminishes, just because it is so slow. It is one of those older Disney Channel original films. I still enjoy the film, but kind of like Hocus Pocus, the original, I don't need to watch it every year. I will if somebody wants to, but it's not my thing that I'm going to go seek out to watch during the month of October. And then finishing off the month of October 2022, I watched The Book of Life from 2014 for the first time, and I gotta say the animation style caught me off guard, but it was overall mostly enjoyable. I do think I don't necessarily need to see it again, but it was an enjoyable watch. And that's what I watched in the month of October. Again, I will be getting out my what I watched in the month of November out on December 1st, because now we are in our place. This is our backyard, and I have internet now, so I can do videos. I'm very excited. I'm very excited for what's to come, short films, just my work in general, and yeah, making more videos. So thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for what's to come. I'm Carter Scotland Allen, and I will see you guys later. Peace.